I think it's getting harder day by day. There's no doubt about that. Everybody now is like sort of fancies by the new shiny object, whatever new comes in. If you know something's working, scale that. If you don't know something's working, test. We generated just from that campaign over 900,000 in pipeline.
Hi everyone, welcome to Startup Scaleup People podcast. I'm Mario Rivas, and I'm here with Bilal today. But before going to Bilal's intro, please remember to subscribe, add comments, or just tell me which topic would you like to learn in the next episode, and I will find it for you. I'm quite excited about this conversation. Bilal is one of my gurus in terms of outreach, sales, also marketing. He has taught me a lot about how to do outreach campaigns, and which are the right tools, which are the right budgets, how to do it. And I said to him, look, you should come, you should start talking with us about AI, about outreach, about GTM, about ABM. And he has a strong background as an operator first, go-to-market lens, relevant SaaS growth experience. He has a strong KPI mindset, modern GTM, strategic approach, and also tactical. And I think this conversation is going to be useful for everyone who wants to learn how to do go-to-market strategies in a high level, but more into outreach, what works, what doesn't work. And yeah, excited. Welcome, Bilal. How you doing?
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. It's spring here in London. It's a little bit warm now, so it's looking good. Summer is, it's out.
I wish I could.
Amazing,
man. It's been pouring down here in Dublin.
Well, this is normal in Dublin, right? Bilal, to go into the topic, right? You have worked across ABM, RevOps, Outbound, and product growth, right? And we have heard so far that the SaaS companies have problems with the GTM. They said actually the GTM is broken. Well, what does it really mean? Because a lot of people in Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn, it's like the GTM for SaaS is broken. Well, what does it mean that for you?
Right, that's you start with a tough one, huh? Let me give you a bit of an intro of where I sit, right? So I sit in go-to-market strategy and operations, and my primary stakeholders are marketing and sales. And I've sort of hopped around sales, demand gen, then marketing ops and RevOps, and now this, right? I've seen all sides of sort of go-to-market, marketing supporting sales, and then sales, of course, supporting expansion and renewal for customer success, whatnot. I don't think SaaS is broken in general. I think it's getting harder day by day. There's no doubt about that. But I still think a lot of us, including, of course, me as well, focus on, how should I put it? Not even quick wins, but complicated things that might not work. And we spend a lot of time sort of hypothesizing, preparing the budget, whatnot, instead of going to the drawing board and be like, hey, we're going to test these 3 things out. If they work, good. If they don't work, you know what? We're going to figure out the next 3 things. And if they work, we're going to scale them and sort of milk everything out of it. I think that's the one thing that's sort of broken, which is everybody now is sort of fancies by the new shiny object, whatever new comes in, whether that's a new tool, Claude, whatever, sort of that's going to fix our problem. Or whether that's a new sort of fancy buzzword. It used to be, HubSpot sort of put out inbound led marketing, everyone went crazy. Then it was Outbound, I think, recently. Then ABM including as well. So I think it's all fundamentals that are sort of missed, and that's why go-to-market is hard right now.
I heard that the SaaS market is broken also because it's very competitive. It's a little bit saturated, but it's very difficult to convert clients, right? We were discussing off cameras, I received honestly 20 or 30 emails per day from different people offering me different things. Not the normal, campaigns doesn't work anymore. Do you think that people are not using the right channels or the right strategy to reach out to their clients?
I'm not going to deny it's getting harder day by day. Across the market, across the industry, it's getting saturated. All channels are getting saturated. It's not just, for example, emails. It's also ad channel, for example, is getting more expensive day by day, right? Because the companies are bidding on the same people to show them ads. But in all of this, I think if a company or if someone figures out a way to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time that they're facing that problem, I think regardless of whatever channel that might be, it works. And I've seen it work for us as well at UserPilot. So as long as the pain is something that they're like, they're feeling, you can sort of scale and you can you sort of, fix your broken go-to-market. It's all about, again, I think like the base should be, if you know something's working, scale that. If you don't know something's working, test. And that's the only way to go about this.
Yeah, you always mention that, like, do basics first, make it work, and then scale it. At UserPilot, your team helped generate more than 650K in pipeline in 90 days from ABM efforts. What were the biggest decisions behind that result?
So I'll tell you a story, right? So this is back in 2024. And at that point, like ChatGPT came out and everything, and we're sort of worried about what's going to happen to search, right? What's going to happen to people like searching and then clicking into our landing page converting. At UserPilot, we relied on organic traffic. Like our revenue was 90-something% all organic. And it was such a complete channel for us that
Which were the main channels for organic traffic for you?
So it was all SEO. It was all SEO, just our blogs converting. So we had a very robust content team, had a very strong programmatic SEO sort of this channel or system, and it was working well. We were, I think at one point, we crossed like 200K in visitors, or probably more. No, I think it was way more than that. So we were sort of expanding and experimenting with things there, right? The problem happened when we were like, what's going to happen to search? But also we were like, this is a way for people to find us, right? We can't control what people come to us. And we don't know what the ACV is going to look like. We had a relatively low ACV at that point. And we were like, if we want to go up market, we need enterprise customers. And in order to get them, we need to go to them, not wait for them to come to us through organic, right? So that's the point. We were like, okay, so we need to figure out a way to like sort of go towards them, right? Figure that out. And at that point, we already tried and sort of tested experimenting with BDRs twice, and it like didn't generate anything for like 6-ish months or something. So like, we need to figure out a programmatic way, because our TAM was big. It's still big. Our TAM is big. We're like, how can we do the same thing that we did with organic, but instead of waiting for people to search and come up to us when they have a certain pain, how about we go towards them, right? So that's where the idea of ABM came into place. And this is Amelia. So Amelia is our VP of marketing, a badass. She's like the I can't even tell you, like the brain she has, it's crazy. So she came up with it. She was like, why don't we implement sort of our programmatic ways in ABM and try and go towards the market? So that's where it came from. So me and her, we were like, okay, we're going to take a list. So it was like, we got approval from our stakeholders, right? At that point, Yazan, who's a founder, and we got like budget approved. We're like, okay, what we're going to do, like, again, we couldn't do everything. We're like, what we're going to do is, we know LinkedIn ads work for us because we use that for retargeting. We're like, we're going to have a list of companies that we identified at that point that we were like, these companies are really, really good fit because we had the same subsegment of customers. We analyzed our customers, found out companies with whatever we found out for our customers that, hey, this is the people or the companies that buy from us, build out a list. And it was 17 companies, if I'm not wrong, at that point. This is October 2024. And we're like, okay, we're going to spend at that point, I think it was 10K, if I'm not wrong, probably more, on LinkedIn ads for 3 months. I mean, it's just a 3-month pilot, and I'm going to see what happens.
It was 30K or 10K in 3 months?
No, it was in total, I think it was 20-something K for all 3 months. So if I remember that correctly, actually, I'm forgetting the numbers, but it was something along those lines, right? So we budgeted down to every month. And that campaign is still in 2 years, second best performing campaign. We generated just from that campaign over 900,000 in pipeline, in qualified pipeline. So that was our like sort of, what the hell, like, wow, this works. And that's when we got like stakeholders involved again and built out this whole motion of ABM, which is now driving almost half of our inbound pipeline. So it was something that just like at the right time we did something, and now we like reduced reliance on organic, introduced a new channel, the only thing that matters, to be really honest, is just like pipeline coverage, right? So like, as long as we're bringing in qualified pipeline, we need a scalable channel that we can predict, because that's the main thing that matters. That can you predict that if you're spending $1 on something, you're gonna bring in this much? And ABM to us is that channel that we know that if we want to scale a certain quarter or a certain month, right now it's giving us 1.7, I think, in ROS, so return on ad spend. So we know that if we double our ad spend, instead of let's say 10K, we spend 10K, we know our revenue is going to increase as well. And that's the predictability that you want in a channel, basically. And then we layered additional things apart from ads. We introduced some sort of outbound, or like we call it scaled, so emails, LinkedIn, whatnot, other channels as well. So far, it's working well.
We are going to ask you about how you started, because, like not everyone has, like 20K or 10K or 30K to spend in 3 months, right? But what you mentioned is very important, because you know your channels very well, you invested on them, and you improve, like the workflow. That's how you scale it, basically, because you knew that, as you said, you're going to get more revenue. It was a very good move and very smart. And I was reading your experience in the background, and I saw that in one of your earlier roles, you helped bring in 25 licensing wins and open 36 deals after helping build outbound reach from scratch. What did you learn there in terms of repeatability in sales?
Yeah, so I think that was like one of the earliest roles I had at UserPilot, and one of the roles I really hated, to be honest, because at that point I joined in to help build, not to help, basically to execute the outbound motion that Emilia was trying to build. So it was Emilia trying to build out this demand gen / outbound motion. So I joined, and it was like, we need to figure out what works. So we were experimenting with different messaging for different industries. We were experimenting with different signals. And this is 4 years ago, so 2022. At that point, yeah, you can call it an SDR role, basically. So it was basically an SDR role. The thing was that we went very creative. So we used to do stuff, and we used to do everything manual. Nothing was automated back then. And the only reason was we needed something that works manually to then be like, okay, this works manually. We can create a template and then we can automate it, or we can create something else and we can automate it. So we used to do everything manually. One of the prime examples, so Kelly, who's one of her teammates, she came up with, she's from the US. So she's like, there's something called March Madness, or like college football in the States, which is huge, right? And she's like, almost all of our ICP are based in the States, and they've went to colleges in the States because we were prospecting and we could see that. It was like, what if we can draft messaging related to the college football team that they support, basically? So it used to be like, whenever it was like season, or whenever the college was playing, we used to be like your college over whoever the competitor was. Like, it was literally a Google search away. And that was our like best performing campaigns, because it was timely, talked about like in UserPilot, the pain point was funny, so it was a good introduction. And then B was very much relevant to what they were doing, like all of them product leads, right? Similarly, we did another campaign, which was, we figured out that like UserPilot is needed, and people usually hire, like it's a signal that people usually hire for either product managers, and then in the description they put in they're responsible activation or feature adoption or retention, or they hire something like a title called onboarding something, right, in the CST. And that to us was a cue that these companies are facing a problem and they're trying to fill that with headcount. How can we go reach them out? So what we did was, we came out with a campaign, and this is email and LinkedIn as well, which was us personally writing an email saying, hey, sorry, there's a job opening at your company. And we used to send this to the product teams, right? So we're like, let's say you're a head of product and you're hiring for a product manager. Like, hey, Mario, saw there's a role open in your team. I know like the best person who can fit this role. Do you want me to make an intro? That's it. Nothing else. And a PS called, not a recruiter, just a friend trying to help. That's it. And almost every time I sent out this email, there was a reply, yes, would love an intro. Yes, would love an intro. And right after that email, so we drafted, like we went into Word and sort of drew out a CV, but for UserPilot. So we literally made a character called Billy the Goat, and we put that face and built out a CV. And in the CV, we wrote down like what UserPilot helps with. So it was a CV, but instead of a person, it's a company CV. And we sent that out. And that got us so many demos, right? So at that point, again, we didn't have the budget, we didn't have the buy-in, which was the biggest thing. Like we didn't have people like sort of supporting that, okay, this is working. So we had to do everything manual. And then after, like, we're like, okay, this is working. We're like, okay, how can we spend more time, or how can we spend more time scaling this function that is already working? So it's all about doing things manually at the start, because you have to figure out what works.
Yeah, but that's quite like painful as well at the same time, right? But I hear you, and I know that it has to be like that to understand. But once you get the message, once you understand which is the signal, how do you continue? Look, I think people would like to learn here from this episode as well. How do you create successful outreach campaigns, right? Because now you have Apollo, you have sequences on LinkedIn, right? If you can talk a little bit about that, a little bit about, the organic, the growth in terms of SEO, blog posts in your website, for example, which was the combination that created the secret sauce, I would say. Because I remember that you said that the first time you started spending, £50, and now you're spending like 100K. I don't know how much 100K you're spending per month, right? To increase the revenue. What does it work for you, and what it didn't work, and what people should do in terms of outreach campaigns?
So I'll tell you, it's not a single channel. It's not a single, system that's working. It's a combination of everything. And when you start figuring out, okay, this works, how can I layer something on top of this? Okay, now this works, and I have like two things. Now, how can I layer the next thing on top of it? So for us, we already had organic working when I joined. So it was already like organic was working. So our role was not, okay, we need to figure out a separate channel altogether, let it work. And then our role was, okay, organic is working. How can we layer on top something that not only improves the conversion rates for organic, but also adds more traffic? And that's where ABM came in, which was ABM, that visitors are going to go from the ads to the organic, increase the organic traffic, increase the conversion rate, and funnel down. Same way, outreach campaigns were sitting on top of our ABM accounts. Why? Because we're like, okay, these accounts are already seeing our ads. Why can't we reach them out on multi-channel ways, like through LinkedIn or through email, and get them to our website? So it's all like sort of layered one on top of each other, and then on top, and then on top, right? For tools, we tried out everything. Like we're very lean. So in terms of the team, we're very lean. So it's just me, Amelia, a couple other folks, and that's it. B, we are very frugal when it comes to spending, unless we know it's working. We did POCs, we sort of went with, like we used to use Apollo Enterprise for a year, tried out Zoom Info, all the major ones, but then also went niche and then tried out these sort of niche databases and niche tools like SassyDB, for example, is one. We haven't used that one, but it's good apparently. And now there's a lot popping up, right? Crossbio and Lead Magic and Better Connect and whatnot. In terms of tool, it comes way later down, because you first need to figure out, who are you selling to? Who the hell are you selling to? Are you selling to companies? Are you selling to people? If yes, which companies are you selling to? And by which I don't mean fintech, I mean like where exactly do you fit in? Like what problems do they face when they can, like, you fix their problem? Like where exactly do you fit? And you need to figure that out. And for figuring that out, you need to understand your customer base. Or if you don't have any customers, you make hypothesis, right? And you test that out, that, okay, for example, let's say UserPilot would only help product teams that are at B2B SaaS companies between 20 to 1,000 employee size, that have at least 5,000 like monthly active users, for example, have a website that's like client facing, a web app that's a client facing, and are also hiring for or growing their product team, right? And not just this, they're also releasing features, or they're doing a UI UX redesign. Here's something that gives us, okay, not just the industry, because that's really not what you need to care about unless you're very, very specific, but also where exactly do you fit in? So once you have that figured out, right, then it comes, okay, now you have sort of your ICP definition, or SAM and TAM, for example. Where do these people live? Because at the end of the day, you sell to people, right? For example, real estate, right? Most of them would not be on LinkedIn. If you're a SaaS that you sell to real estate agents or you sell to real estate companies, spending on LinkedIn ads would be crazy because your audience is not there. So you need to identify, okay, you have your ICP. Where do these people live? Like, do they live on Reddit? For example, a lot of developers live on Hacker News. They used to live on Stack Overflow, things like this. You need to figure out where your audience lives. So for us, for example, we know that they're very active on LinkedIn, right? Because they're mostly SaaS companies. We know, of course, they Google whatnot. We know most of them are not really on Meta or Facebook, for example, and Instagram. And YouTube is also like something that they are there, but they're not really spending a lot of time there during the day, right? During their working hours. So we figured out, hey, these are the channels that we think and we know are where people hang out, right? So that's when we devise strategies. Okay, so let's say if LinkedIn is how can we penetrate in their sort of feed in multiple ways? One of the ways is ads, but is that the only way? No, messaging is one. Which one is cheaper? Which one is more scalable? Which one is sort of, how should I put it, efficient, right? Same for email. Are they on their email? Yes, they're on their email every single day. That's the whole thing. How can we make sure we're there whenever they start their day? We're there when we want to reach them out. Same for any other things. So once you have that figured out, the channels, then you worry about tools. And the thing with tools is, it was different 4 years ago when I was working on things like this. There was only handful, Salesloft, Outreach. We tried Outreach as well, Apollo, ZoomInfo. There's only big databases, and you could only everybody was yes, this is the default. We're gonna go with them. Today, the landscape is very different. So you have a lot more freedom to go and expand. So you don't even need to buy a list. For example, if your audience is restaurant owners, right? Go scrape Google Maps. What's stopping you? You don't need someone to give you that information. Go scrape Google Maps. And it's so cheap and it's so easy now. You can even build your own scraper. Same with other stuff. And for example, for us right now, we don't rely on any one tool. We have a mix of, so we bring in our own accounts, right? And then we have a mix of Clay and, right, we're trying to move to Prospeo to find out the people and then enrich their emails with a multiple of tools. Lead Magic is one of the strongest one. And then it's a waterfall enrichment so that we can cover everything, cover all of the bases. And the best part is you don't even need to go to the UI to do this. It used to be oh, you're going to go into Apollo, you're going to click on filters, you're going to do industry, you're going to do revenue, you're going to employ headcount. Those days are gone, to be very honest. You can do everything through an API call. So you build out your whole motion that's sort of self-evolving, that you're always, whenever a customer comes in, gets enriched with everything you care about, your whole ICP definition is self-updating. So that once you're going up market, it's also changing. You're not going to always serve the same people or the same companies because you're going to expand, you're going to add new features, whatnot. Then that definition goes downstream, and then you have whatever, let's say Prospeo, Lead Magic, whichever API, Better Connect, whatever, calling in to find people at those target companies that you're targeting, right? And then the whole thing flows. And that's sort of what we built out with Clay, because at that point, Clay was the best tool to do this in. And now I'm planning to move off of Clay and sort of build the internal database with the help of Codex and Claude Code, because why not? At the end of the day, it's just API calls to different providers, and that's it.
Yeah, well, for you, it sounds very easy. But it's not so easy, because I saw you show me once, a few things, and And so, wow, this is crazy because, connecting APIs, creating AI agents, and then multiple emails and like crossing databases to see if people, change jobs or they have, releasing new posts about hiring someone, or they visited your website. So you have multiple automated filters, I would say, which brings data from these people, and then you analyze those people, right? And what they do, what they don't do, their problems, and then you create a tailored message, across different channels to reach out to them, right? So that's something that not everyone does. It sounds, for you, I know it sounds easy, but it's not so easy, or maybe it's not complicated, but it's something that is quite like, I think you have to spend time if you want to build it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't have time. That's why they go for the easy ones like Apollo or like these email campaigns or
and there's
LinkedIn.
nothing wrong with that. 100%. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, but I think I'm thinking that it's difficult, and to convert on that, you have to be more sophisticated now with the high competition that there is, right?
Yeah.
And you have to understand their pain points, their problems. Once you told me, always offer them something.
Exactly.
That they cannot avoid, right? You have to offer them something when you know which is their problem, right?
Exactly.
And that's the difficult part, right? How you get that information. How you know, for companies that are starting, for example, how they're gonna know who is like looking at them if they're just starting, right? So they have to try to create, hypothesis of what they need, to try until something works. Is that, I'm correct?
You are 100% correct. That is exactly how they should. Like the thing is, there's no easy way out of this. Like there's no easy way that, you log into a tool, it does the job. No tool it does have context on what your company is or is solving, and all of that, even if they say they do. So just test out things and just go deeper. That's the only way to go about this. And when something is working, don't try and find another shiny object. Scale that and simultaneously try and find other revenues.
Yeah, that's a good advice for people who want to build this, right? You have also highlighted benchmark data showing AI ML products with activation rates around 54-55%. What do a strong activation metrics actually tell us about product market fit versus just product novelty?
Yeah, so I'll tell you one of the main problems right now. There's so many tools popping out left and right? You log, and they're all like shiny tools. For example, I remember there was this one tool, forgot the name, I think it was Whimsical, if not, but like something, came out, super excited, signed up. I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be my tool. I don't remember like if I went back again, right? Same thing. Clay, for example, released a lot of new features. One of them was signals, clay gens, whatnot, right? I hardly ever use them. At the end of the day, it's people using your product, right? So you as a company or as a product manager, you're sort of shipping features or shipping new products. You want the user to sort of see that or sort of go into that outside of their daily workflow. Nobody wants to. Nobody likes change, right? But also B, wants to sort of give them the aha moment, which is, okay, yeah, shit, this is cool, like this is cool. I'm gonna come back again. And then make them recurring users, make them like come back. Product novelty is what we see with, for example, Lovable, right? Everybody, like when Lovable first came, I remember I went to SaaS talk and there was some talk that one of them was doing, and it was like, how do you
That's here, right?
I forgot who was it, but I remember like someone asked them that, how do you get new users, signing up? And the person replied back, we don't, like they come to us. And that's such a sort of a stupid answer, but also B, like,
no, see, that is, I don't want to say the word, but they did all the investors and everyone who invested in them did a very good marketing. Everyone knew how much money they raised all the time. That did very quickly. So it's not that they came to us it's like it was a very big marketing stuff actually from the investors. Everyone was talking about it. Exactly. And so that was it's not they come to us, like they did a massive marketing just with announcing the amount of money that they raised.
Yeah,
because
I love the team as well, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy. And they've done a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff as well. So with now, for example, activation and especially like feature adoption, retention is such a key metric because people have a lot of different options. Like if I don't like, I can easily switch to Seamless. I can switch to, so many tools. I can't even like name them. There's so many of them, probably with a better price. Say, like take any tool as an example. It's so easy now to switch. It used to be the case. Data is a moat. Change management is a moat. You can't easily switch off. CRMs still have that. Like HubSpot, if you're already in HubSpot for ages, it's gonna be a painful process to move to Salesforce, for example. But things are changing. Product adoption or feature adoption and activation, especially like once you're releasing new features or product, it's becoming way more important. And I think like the new companies, they've done a good job. Like Claude does a very good job. Anthropic team, like they're really good at activating users on the new features that they're releasing. Skills was one, Agents now recently, they're one, and that's a really good example. Same with Cursor, for example. Cursor is really good at it. Replit, I love the Replit team. They're really good at it. So as long as it's us humans using interfaces, I don't know for how long, but you'll need people to activate on those features and products and adopt them and, retain basically.
Well, you mentioned that there is a combination of, understand the clients, doing their outreach campaigns, but marketing is very important too. And people forget, right? Although not people forget, but not everyone knows how important it is, right? You help localize 770 blogs into 14 languages, driving 34K extra visitors and 18 plus demo requests. How is the scalable content system versus hand-drafted campaigns? I know that you're gonna say both have to be, important, how to work together. But how important is the scalable content?
Still very important. Yeah, and the localization happened back in 2023. And again, the reason was we had one thing that was working, which was our organic blog content, which was in English, still in English, was performing really, really good. We had like 200, 300K traffic every month. We had a lot of demos coming in. And at that point, I was in a very experimental role, which was every single month, I take what's working and I try and scale that. And one of those projects was like blog localization, or alongside that was like taking the blog content, producing short videos on YouTube through Synthesia. At that time I used it. So the localization part was the same thing, which was, hey, we have this working, how can we scale it? And one of the ways that I thought we could scale it was we have our content only in English. What if we programmatically localize everything that matters, like the high converting pages, high converting blogs, into the languages that we know our audience is in. So for example, the Nordics, French, German, Spanish, Arabic, Hebrew as well. So that was sort of the main reason, and it did work well for some languages. For some languages it did not. Like for example, Dutch, nobody reads Dutch, everybody's just like reading English. So it was like, okay, we get it. Italian as well. So it's again like it's even now it's very important. We're very focused on like content side of things, but now it's a different kind of focus. It's like way more strategic, research based, thought leadership, where we're like, even if we produce less number of blogs every single month, we need to be sure that whatever we're producing is the highest quality we can produce. So it's a different kind of methodology, but it's still very much there. Now we're of course focusing on AEO, or answer optimization, which is how can we make sure we appear on when people search on ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, like wherever they search, like how can we show up there more whenever they're talking about their problem, if it's at all connected to us. So it's going to always be, a work in progress, but I think it's a very exciting space to be in.
And which tool do you use to see who is like reading your blogs, who is like the traffic that you're generating on your blocks in your website?
So we have a mixed combination. For analytics, I think we use now Plausible. Of course, we have GA4 as well. We have UserPilot itself installed on our website as well internally. So we have that as well. And then I know the content team uses a lot of other tools like SEMrush, Ahrefs, all of those as well. And then there's some for AEO part that I can't seem to think, but yeah, those are the main ones I would say.
Well, we have a few minutes before we finish. I think it would be good if the audience can ask questions in the comments or something, so we can do a second episode more practical. If you had to mention a few tools that you think that people should use to start, which are the few tools that you think that are useful?
Number one right now, go into your terminal. So write code wherever, like if that's through Claude Code, good. If that's not through Claude Code, Codex, good. Not through that, Cursor, and use any API behind it. Replit, even Microsoft's one, I forgot, GitHub Copilot, I think it's called. Any one of them. I would personally recommend Claude Code because it's easy, it's good, and there's so much you can do with that. So that's for sure number one.
That helps you because with Claude now you can do multiple things, right? You can connect that to your website, and you can create content, for example, like blog content, like create a plan program, they build the content, you can plug it in. I think like you can automate that process, for example. That's something that I think it can happen. But for which other purpose would you use Claude?
Anything that you can imagine. For us, for example, right now, we use it to automatically generate landing pages. If we're launching a new campaign against our competitors, for example, or for a certain segment of our user base, we can literally spin up a landing page in less than 5 minutes through Claude Code. To do competitor research, to update our internal battle cards for the sales team. We are using it to, of course, generate all of the outreach messages and whatnot, but also to generate the guides and the resources that we give as like value to these prospects, which is like, hey, I know you launched new feature. Do you want like a guide we recently prepared to solve the exact problem that they're facing? And they're like, hell yeah. All of that stuff we're doing through Claude Code and more. There's like a lot more. We've built a lot of internal tools. We've built a lot of so a lot of times people spend time on like reporting, dashboards, this and that. All of that now we're sort of automating through Claude Code. Not even Claude Code, it's just code in general. It's just Claude is one of the tools that we use for it. So anything and everything that you can imagine or that you're doing right now can be done better. I still believe that with a bit of code in it, and Claude Code is a really, really, really good place to start.
And which other tools will you use to connect with Claude to build the workflow?
So we connect everything either through the CLI, like SmartLead, for example, which is an email sort of sequencer. We connect that through SmartLead released their CLI, which is called like command line interface, and it's really, really good. It gives us everything. HeyReach, for example, has an API, MCP server as well. HubSpot we connect, GA4, basically everything that we have is connected to Claude Code either through an API, either through command line interface, or through an MCP server. For example, Notion is as well. Notion is where everything lives, like our documentation hub, right? So everything is connected to everything, and the reason for that is we want to build a context OS, which is like internal brain that has everything, can self-update whenever something's happened, but also can give outputs and generate stuff from the knowledge, like whatever is stored in there. So that's what we're trying to build internally. A lot of cool people I've talked to have already done it. Neo is one, Matthew is one, Lorenzo is one. So that's what we're sort of trying to do with it right now.
Cool. So people know now they have to start with Claude Code and see how it works. Yeah, connect their favorite tools, but don't forget to start from the manual, understand the pain points, offer something that the client cannot reject, and when some of those, tactical, we say like plans works, they can scale it.
Exactly.
You've done a lot, different things. You have tried everything in the market, I would say. That's why I always, when I have questions, I come back to you. Yeah, very well done with what you're doing. Honestly, I've been talking with a lot of people in the market. Honestly, believe me, a lot of people in terms of sales, outreach, campaigns, and all of this, and I haven't found someone who knows more than you.
That's
So
big.
very well done, Bilal. Well, I said at the beginning, you are my guru in this
No.
in this subject.
Trust me, I'm learning with you. So
You're very humble. And well, before we finish, there is something that you would like to say to people, like some lesson learned or something that you fail and you learn a lot and you wouldn't repeat. That is something that I can avoid.
the only thing is, if I could do it again, or if I could change is, I would go down the coding route a lot more. Like, I think that the thing with code is, as long as you can maintain it, there's so much more you can do with it. A tool will always restrict you to some things, and if I could sort of go back and adopt something faster, it would have been like Claude Code or Codex at that point, and learn how does version control work, how does GitHub work, all of this stuff. Because I think that's also the future as well. Like, everything is gonna get like sort of democratized, so people could do something with itself. But also, I think it's a lot of like watch and learn, and like see and learn, and also like try and learn. So I learn a lot by talking to other folks as well. And I think I recently did a webinar as well, or not a webinar, podcast episode with one other person called Meghana. And I was like, I can't talk, I need to show. Because again, like, once you show, you realize that it's not that hard. I'm not like the one that's like super smart. I'm literally asking, for example, Claude Code, how the fuck do I do this? Because I have no clue myself. And that's where I go. I'm like, okay, now I know how to do this. What does make sense? Like, things like that. So as long as, you try things out, you're gonna fail 1,000 times. It's all right. Like, that's better than not failing. That's good. That's the mantra.
Good advice. Thank you so much for your time, Bilal. It was very nice to see you again. If people are interested to listen to something else, or maybe get some demos and create another episode, like show you more stuff, happy to do it. It depends of what you can show, of course.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend. Let's catch up soon.
You too, Mario. It's always great talking to you, man.
Thank you, mate. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.